Hi, boys and girls, lads and lassies. Welcome back to Wednesday night movies. But tonight it's not a movie. We are going
A
to
TV
talk
show.
the Orville, the TV show. Because season 3 is starting, and the Orville, I must admit, is one of the few things that I enjoy new stuff. I'm quite happy with watching the Orville. So far, 2 seasons. There's a couple of bits and pieces I'm not keen on. That's standard. If you like every second of every TV show, there's something all right because not
There's
every
something
TV
not
show is
right in your
perfect.
head.
Yeah, there's nothing's perfect. There's always wee teeny bits here and there, but if you can overlook them, that's a good TV show. Like for instance, Yaphit, one of my favourite characters. However, as a being, it doesn't work for me because people running through him, it splits and stuff like that, and it just doesn't make sense as an alien because of all that. So it's a mold of jelly, but it's sentient mold of jelly that people can run through and it can split up. It's things like that. It just doesn't make sense, but doesn't need to make sense because it's meant to be an alien, so it's fun. And Yaphit is actually one of my favourite characters. Unfortunately, with MacDonald passing away, Yaphit is obviously getting phased out in season 3 because of that. But I like the character, but because I like the character doesn't mean I know that when it comes to aliens, to try and put things in aliens that don't make sense.
And that's as much as I love the one thing that is missing that Star Trek and even Star Wars had, and hey, even Enemy Mine and a lot of other sci-fi classics back in the day. And I will even extend it to the bikini aliens attacks from Mars or whatever it was. Very cheesy stuff with Gina and all of that. They actually knew how to kind of build an alien that sort of felt real. The last thing I got out of Star Trek that was a proper alien that felt properly dangerous was the Borg. Now, we did have in Voyager species 87429 or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
They did have an element of danger, an element of actually being alien. But new TV shows, and this I think it is, despite how much I love the Orville, building the aliens, it feels so weak. It's million
They give
light
them
years
a quirk.
ahead of
They give them
STD.
a quirk, and actually, that's meant to be alien. A
Yeah.
quirk, like for instance, Bortus.
Yeah.
The all male species laying eggs, not an issue. The peeing, the geologia, really. That's the one part of the Mocklins is the geologia. Once a year, really, but they take all that stuff in, even if they had a system that could actually deal with stuff when they're taking that much in, because they can eat and drink anything. So he sits and drinks, but there's no waste product going out, so he's taking all that liquid in throughout the year and nothing changes. It's things like that. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it's wee things like that. But it doesn't stop the actual being an interesting look at different things. But it's when they do things like that. So
Sorry, the whole peeing thing. It was the Ponfar of the Vulcans, and they were just taking literally the piss out of it.
Yes.
I really did not like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I only have to go and pee once a year, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I know, and it's basically it was that aspect of it because it was done as part of the joke, because it was meant to be a parody that they changed after the first season. They get rid of a lot of the parody. They still made it humorous because people still have a laugh and a joke with each other. Like, for instance, Isaac was another one. Why called Isaac? Yet, how many, can you remember any of the other names for the Kalon? Was it Kalon? Were the Kalon?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so there was only the administrator, but so all of them have names like that, or is it a case of they've all got numbers, or they've all got designations? It's that type of thing. So why would they be called Isaac? So how many cases are there? So if is there billions? So every single one's got a different name. Yeah, they did. And it's, you see, it's things like that. So the naming Isaac doesn't make sense in Android society or a artificial intelligence society, because would they all have numbers or designations or whatever, or have they all got names, and have they all got similar names?
Well, that's the struggle they have, as I pointed out. They are not able to invent anymore.
Yeah.
It's that Tolkien message, the good can create, but the bad can't. And I know I butchered it completely, but essentially, the message, the core of the message is it's harder to create than just duplicate or bring
they
something
can rip
down.
off, but
Yeah.
see, I don't know. I thought I didn't realize Isaac was named by humans. I just thought it was just his name, is same as anything else. I'm not entirely sure about that. I can't remember actually picking that up, how he got his name. I just assumed that was his designation because he was an artificial intelligence. He got his designation, but the more I heard about it, the less it seemed to actually make sense. But
to be honest, that's another nail in the coffin. Don't recall the naming of him or how people told through the story how he became Isaac or by that name.
Yeah, it could be a case of they took the name as a homage when he was going to human space. They gave a name, but then to me, they would have actually gone with one of the most common names or something like that. Would the Kalon actually decided to use a human name, or how would they have actually says that either an unusual name, one which represents something? So yes, they could have actually says the human society, one of their greatest sci-fi, but then again, would they have not go down things like one of their scientists? So do you see what I mean? It's how would they have done it? But because they've no mentioned, I can't remember them ever mentioning how he was named in the show. Outside the show, I don't know, because things like that don't bother me. If outside the show they say, "Oh, we named him because of this," then that's just saying in the script, this is why we named him. But in the show, that's not the same. That's like turning around saying, "Oh, we named him Isaac after Isaac Asimov because we're all big Isaac Asimov fans." Fine. And you get that ice cream van turned off, making me hungry. But you see what I mean? So if they said it out with the show that we like Isaac Asimov, we're a big fans, that says nothing about how he's named in the show. So I don't take what they say outside the show and inside the show as the same thing. So it could have been named after Isaac Asimov, but in the show you need to know why he's called Isaac and what's the naming convention. It's the same idea as naming conventions for aliens. It's right across the board from Spock. They've all got one name, as if there's only a handful of them. Spock, Sarek, even Klingons. So you've got Worf of House Smog. So it's basically giving them of a house. So you can have 5 different Worfs, but one of House Smog, one of House this, one of House that. Can understand it because it's almost like a second name, but having all the aliens just with one name.
You do have a better nuance with the the name just disappeared. So Worf of House something is essentially, with the subtle nature, like the Scottish people. You wear a certain tartan color on your kilt or pattern because you belong to a certain clan.
Yeah, you
That
wear
is
the
what the
Stuart
house
tartan
means.
or the MacLeod tartan or the MacDonald tartan or the...
Yeah, exactly. So the subtle nuance is in there for them.
Yes.
It actually has more connotation rather than just being, oh, a Madonna. Madonna what?
Yes. So you could have MacDonald, which is Donald from the clan Donald, because Mac means son of or of the clan. So like, it's the same as like Onelli in an Italian means son of. You've got Mac is son of. You've got O as in Irish ones are son of. So O'Toole, Peter O'Toole is Peter, son of Toole. And Toole, it's that type of thing. So it's the same as MacDonald. It's the same as what was the one? Jack. What do you call her? What was the actress? Lena. Liza Minnelli. Minnelli is usually son of, but I don't know if hers was a bastardized version of an Italian name, because a lot of Italians got it bastardized because things like elongated I looked like a J, so their name became a J and things like that. But it's Onelli, the part at the end. So like, if you had a name with Onelli at the end of it, you knew it was son of whatever the first part was. And it's the same as MacDonald was the son of Donald, or MacLeod, son of Cloud. It's that type of thing. It's
exactly,
obviously
and a lot of
as the thing. It's the same as like the English one. Smith was their job title. John
exactly.
Smith, John the Smith, John the Cooper,
Carpenter.
John. I mean the so it's things like that. So Mac, Paddy, yeah, it's basically son of, but you also get islands. You've got O'Keefe and stuff like that. It's
But
you
had the same across a lot of the northwest quadrant of Europe, because in Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, you have surnames: Anders' son, Johan's son, Stephen's son. Basically means son of Stephen, son of Anders, son of John.
But that's what I'm saying. So you've got certain ones had the son of or the clan of, other ones had their job title. So like the English ones were Cooper, Smith, Butcher,
all of them, yeah. The Icelandic was more specific because they actually did separate son of or daughter of. So there's like Sigurdsdottir, daughter of Sigurd, or Sigurd's son, son of Sigurd. So they had some really specific.
Yeah, John saying O means descendant of. It's the same idea. Mac means descendant of. It doesn't necessarily mean son of. It's just we're just using it as in a generic term. So like O'Keefe is descendant of Keefe. MacDonald is descendant of MacDonald of Donald. So you had a female were called MacDonald as well because they were descendants of Donald. It's a similar idea. It's the same as the difference, whereas Jim's mentioning about the difference between sons and daughters, whereas a lot of the Western ones it was all the descendant of. So although we call it son of, it's daughter of as well. It just means descendant of. So whereas Jim's talking about the Sigerson and Sigurdaughter, whatever.
Yeah. Interesting how we literally went into a squirrel path like
straight away.
6 seconds in.
But it's just because I notice in quite a lot of sci-fi show, all aliens seem to have one name. Yet you have other ones, like for instance, Kira Nerys, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. You know what I mean? You had a lot with a full name, a first and second name, so it makes it easier to understand. However, they always seem to have a lot of aliens just with one name. So you look at the Orville. you've got Isaac, you've got it's just disappeared from my head. You've got Yaphit, right? And you know what I mean, you've got all the other characters. I can't. It's amazing they just disappeared. Bortus, Clyden. So they're all just one name. Why is none of the aliens got a more?
Well, okay. I understand the track you're going down, and this is not exactly an alien, but we have Star Trek: The Next Generation. The security officer that died literally 8 episodes in, Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
She had a first and a last name.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
Well,
You've got other ones. You've got Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine. 2 names. You see what I mean? Not all of them, but for some reason, ones that they want to actually make alien. So the ones that are humanoid looking. So you've got Kira Nerys, who was from... Oh, my mind is just gone. So Kira was from... Bajor. She was Bajoran, right? So a lot of them had the thingy because... You see what I mean? And then you've got Tasha Yar. She was on a human colony. So they had surnames, but it's the ones they want to show as aliens. They seem to actually give one name. So you had Spock, you had Bortus, you had Isaac, you had Data. Data's, I suppose, different because he, like Isaac, was artificial intelligent, but there was only 3.
Well, Data's brother and everything from...
that's what I'm saying. There was only 3 of them. So you had B4, you had LaMarr, and you had Data. So you had 3 of them. K's and Dax is another one. So basically, some of them they do, but some of the other ones they just want to have, say, alien, one name. Really? Can you not actually just think of a different way of the naming conventions?
Well, alien is technically the xenomorph, but they haven't never because they never got a hook into it in the universe, whether it is Carpenter or anything.
I'm not talking about alien. I'm talking about an alien on these TV shows where they interact with them. So they've all got one name. And it's really unusual if they've not. So you've got Yaphit, but you look at things, Alf, one name. Things like that.
That was technically not his name.
I know it was alien life form, and he had a big long name. But what I'm saying is, for some reason, they actually want to actually say alien, one name, and it's crazy. And that's the point. It's a case of almost like these things that people actually say, "Oh, we need to actually have an alien name. Give us an alien name," and they go give one name, and they go, "That's fine." But do you not want no, one's fine. Doesn't matter if there could be billions of them around the world. 5 or 6, if a lot of them can have the same name and there's no distinguishing. Yes, there's a lot of John Smiths out there, but I know.
It is where the laziness comes in.
Yes,
it is. They realize that if they give something a surname or a last name or a family or something, they actually have to come up with stories that makes it sort of plausible. And I've seen dozens because I do still, despite knowing it's going to be junk, I watch premieres as they come out, knowing full well it's just going to be junk, it's going to be nothing I'm watching. But you see how generic the characters are. They don't want to expand on the family. So there's like this tall, dark, handsome guy, because there's this neurotic, freaky girl running a cupcake business shop or something, or whatever it is. His family will never get explained. It's just him, and then there might be a quirky mom or eccentric dad behind him. But that's it. There is no explanation. There is no family traits. There is no lineage. There's no history.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's lazy writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've got the Orville, which the writing is actually, I wouldn't say it's the greatest, because it was actually started as a bit of a parody. I wouldn't say it was a piss take. It was more of a parody. It was an option to get a Star Trek show, but to make it a bit more humorous. They went a wee bit over the top, because you look at the first couple of episodes where you've got him drink John or Gordon stoating around with his beer and he's flying, going whoa, whoa, oh sorry, and then he nearly crashes and stuff like that. And then the first time you meet John LaMarr, he basically says, "Oh well, the last captain let us have drink. Can we still have drinks?" And you're sitting there thinking, really, this is where they're going with the humor, the silliness of it. And then they actually get rid of the silly humor and just had humor generic, how people react with each other, because they can, when they're in the canteen or sitting having a laugh, they can actually have the zany comments about the silly stuff, but when they're on the job they stop being as zany.
I know.
So
That's something. Was it Stargate Atlantis did really well with the canteen stuff, where you had almost like 10 forward in TNG. You had a little bit of canteen, and it was like frustrations and whatnot, and drama in the canteen, where you're supposed to just go, I'm having some food, I'm sitting down, I'm relaxing, I'm off the clock, I will be back on the clock in 15 to 20 minutes from now. But they played it really well in those, and I haven't seen that.
No, but when they're in the
to be
canteen,
fair, I
they're
don't
usually
think I've
having a
seen that
drink,
in
and they let you see John Bortus and all that carrying on, and it's a case of, you can eat anything here, eat that, here, eat that. That's the type of places where you would expect the silliness, but
Yeah,
you wouldn't expect
and
it when they're actually at their jobs.
Mm.
And that's the difference, is whereas the first season or so, they would have them at the jobs doing the silly, stupid things. Whereas now you see the silliness when they're off duty in the canteen or at night or whatever. And that's a bit better. But they're still, sometimes they're trying to actually keep it like that.
But I think that is also a massive shift, because I think all of us on this call are of that age that we were in the canteens when, shall we say, Voyager came around.
Yeah.
We were definitely in the workplace or business canteen. You were slightly more professional, and I will bring this to Star Trek Voyager, Tom Paris to Kim.
Yeah.
And they just making friends. And Kim has been hearing a lot of rumors about Paris.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has that whole demeanor of, I'll choose my friends myself, thank you very much. And that is how it was back in the day. But I've seen the change, because working in IT, we do a lot of time get the luxury of, hey, there is a canteen. Food may or may not be free, but it will be dirt cheap compared to going out to the supermarket and grabbing like a £5 lunch deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no talking, there is no bantering, there is no nothing. If people just go to the canteen, sit down, eat your stuff, go back up to their computers.
Yeah. So, what was your first thoughts when you started watching the Orville? Because obviously we knew who was in it. We knew it was a Seth MacFarlane thing, and you'd seen other Seth MacFarlane stuff. Like it or loathe it, it doesn't make any difference. You were aware of the type of things he'd done in the past. What was your first impressions of the first couple of episodes?
It wasn't so much that. It was just a complete aversion to Seth MacFarlane. But not full on. So like 98% aversion, because it was like, oh, this is just going to be He's a reject janitor working Walmart, just mopping the floor, kind of college humor. He never moved past being 14 years old, because that's the kind of humor he used in his previous stuff. And yes, he came out swinging with that, but there was a strongly compelling undertone coming through that he actually, it seems that him being behind this, he meant business. He wanted to take something somewhere.
Yeah.
And I could tell by how quickly he dropped the fart humors, the college brat humor, the immature 14-year-old kid trying to flirt with a 30-year-old lady, the American Pie humor, that literally rinsed off in the first 2 episodes, and suddenly creative writing and a respect and an homage to the original sci-fi, the core of good sci-fi stories started blossoming.
Yeah. See, I was never a big fan of Seth MacFarlane's stuff. Didn't like Family Guy. Wasn't a great fan of a lot of his stuff. His animated stuff. It just did not sit with me. It wasn't for me. It didn't work. So when I first heard about it, I thought, is it going to be a farce? Is it going to be silly? I watched the first couple of episodes and I thought, as John says, it was a bit fun, but it wasn't great sci-fi. It was a parody of Star Trek, but I think there was enough in it that you could see he liked what he had an idea what he wanted, and the silliness, the zaniness, the craziness was there just to actually get people so they would go, oh well, it's no Star Trek, because you can laugh through it and how silly it is and stuff like that. So it was almost a case of, look, it might look like Star Trek, but it's silly and zany and there's crazy stuff in it and it's completely different and it's not the same. It's more of a parody. So it was almost a case of, these are not the droids you're looking for. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a case of you're looking at something and it's a case of, these are not the droids you're looking for. No problem. And that's what it seemed to actually put across for me. And that's what I felt as if it was trying to do initially with the zaniness was, look somewhere else. This is not exactly what you're expecting. But as he got into his stride, the zaniness started cutting down and the story started getting a bit more sci-fi. Still, there was bits and pieces I thought, it could have been better here. It could have been, I wish they'd get rid of that bit, and I wish they did this bit. But it's usual critical silliness. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. I like this, I like that. We all do the same. There's certain parts of certain things. Even the greatest TV show ever, you could say, I wish they'd changed that bit. I wish they'd changed that bit. It would have been better if they did it this way. It's still a fantastic show, but there's certain wee bits you would think they would do a wee bit better. And I think this one, as it was gradually going on, it was getting better because they had an idea of where they wanted to be. And he started down here by, these are not the droids you're looking for, to the point where, like, watch the Death Star burn. And that's what you're getting to. It's almost that journey from silly through to, oh my God, this is actually quite a serious, good program. And I quite liked it for that. The journey from zany to a more serious part. And you could still have the silly bits in it, like open this jar of pickles instead of says, you're the strongest, could you please open this for me? Whereas you can just imagine somebody saying, open the jar of pickles. Just as saying something they would say just between friends, between colleagues. You don't expect them to always be very formal. And that's okay with that. You wouldn't expect a Jean-Luc Picard to say that, but would you expect a James Kirk to say that? Maybe to Scotty or to Bones or to Spock, but you wouldn't expect him to say it to Zulu, Uhura, or Chekhov because of the command structure. Whereas he's
But not only the command structure, it is the internal friendships that exist between them.
yes,
So take the dynamic between Uhura and Kirk and Bones, and Kirk and Spock.
but that's what
There's
I'm saying.
definitely a
Whereas Kirk would have
hierarchy
said
of
it to the ones he's more friendly with, like Scotty, Bones, and Scotty and Spock, because he's got they're a higher level in the chain of command, but they're more friendly. Whereas with his lower colleagues, he wouldn't be as flippant and formal. That's what I'm saying. It would be more restrictive. Whereas, so you can see Kirk saying it to people like his friends at the top of the command chain, whereas Ed Mercer's, because the way he gets the command, and he's still a wee bit not sure why he's got it. He's still trying to ingratiate himself with his workers, and he doesn't want them to see him as this big guy up here in the ivory tower. So he's been a bit more ingratiating, like open this jar of pickles and and the silliness with the jokes with Bortus. I'll have one of those eggs when you're finished. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a case of cringe, but it's a stupid thing. But it was a stupid way of doing it, and it was silly. However, it basically showed him as someone who didn't want to be seen on this ivory tower. He wanted to be seen as one of the boys, even though he's in command. So, and it was
Absolutely.
the clumsiness of starting it off to be a parody, and then it actually came out from that. Whereas he still wanted to be seen as one of the guys, but he is in command, but he's not as formal as some commanders. But that's how I see it. I know I'm.
No, I don't disagree with it. It is lacking in writing today, and I do even see it in books of people trying to make something. They are unable to form that dynamic between even a disposable character that will die or will never appear again, or something that is. It used to be something there between the main character and just shall we say, an NPC.
Yeah. Well,
It used to be more volume in there.
yeah. Well, did you see the clip I posted? Bristol County Junior. I put a couple of clips up, and one of them is Pete's piece. Pete Hunter was only meant to be in one episode, and he gets shot at the end of the episode. And the part I put up is the gunfight about Pete's piece, right? And he was meant to die then, but people liked him. So although it was only one season, they brought him back, and he was only gut shot, but he got better. He wasn't as seriously injured as the rest of them. So they brought him back because people liked him, and they liked even though he was a villain, and he was meant to be a nasty piece of work, he was still fun to watch. And even between him and Briscoe, there was a wee bit of chemistry when the two of them were on the thing it people liked. So they brought him back. And that's the difference. Whereas that was a throwaway character for one episode, but they put so much in it, people actually fell in love with that character that they actually decided to bring him back. Whereas you think about now, if you've got a character you know is going to die, it's yes, no. And it's basically the bare essentials just to have him in there just so he'll die. And even if you're meant to feel for them, you don't, because they can't write them now. Whereas back then, they could write a character that's only going to appear in one episode to the point where people like him that much. They go, wait a minute, we actually wrote him that well. We should bring him back because people like him. Whereas you can't imagine that nowadays. And I think
did it?
Sorry.
I'm struggling to remember the names, but did we have quite a few in the late 90s? And I'm thinking of James Marsters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. only meant to
Fine.
be in there for a few episodes and
Yeah.
just die or
Yeah.
go away, but
Yeah.
became so
They
popular.
were meant to be one season. They were meant to be the season, not the big baddies for the season. They were meant to be the henchmen.
Exactly.
And that's what it was, because the master was the one that was manipulating everything behind the scenes. And they were just two of his henchmen, Spike and it wasn't Matilda. What was her name? I can't remember her name. But the two of them.
But that's the thing, and I think that is this. That is what Hollywood is seeming to forget
Yeah.
these days. She was amazing. Drusilla was her name.
Drusilla, yeah.
But
I mean, Drusilla and Spike were a great duo because she was nuts, and you could actually the girl that played her so well that yes, you would be quite happy to accept that she was nuts.
But James Masters outshined her by like a billion light years.
Yeah, to the point actually he became one of the favourites, considering he was meant to be in there for a total baddie, to the point that he got an arc where he fell in love with Buffy and he tried to be good, even though he couldn't be, but he tried, to the point at the end he was actually part of the Scooby Gang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it didn't become ridiculous. He became ridiculous because he was trying so hard, but he couldn't. It was almost a case of they would try and make something farcical, whereas they tried to make him serious, but he played it so well that he played the serious so farcically because he couldn't. You could just imagine his character trying his hardest, but not quite working. So killing somebody and thinking, what? I didn't mean it. And it's that type of thing. So his character actually got a better arc because I think James Masterson just actually played him spot on as this guy who is a demon who's just trying to be good but can't stop himself.
Exactly.
And I think that just goes to show that it's how it was well written. But that's what I'm saying. There's other programs out there. There's one-off villains that they were so good that they keep bringing back. You look at Tremors, one of my favourite shows. It was meant to be a one-off movie. Then it was a bit of a hit, so they made a second movie. And who was the character they brought back? The character that was only meant to be a side character. Bert Gummer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So they brought him back for the 7 movies and the TV show because he was the fan favourite. Because of that, even though you had Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward as the 2 stars of the first one, when they were making the second one, they thought, well, obviously they're not going to pay the extra money for the 2 stars. So bring in the fan favourite. And it was all about him for the next 7 movies, or the next 6 movies. So he was in all 7 movies and the TV show, yet he was just a wee bit part in the first movie. But Michael Gross was just fantastic as Bert Gummer. And they're never going to make a Tremors 8. And if they do, it'll fail because they killed off Bert in Tremors 7. So it ain't happening again. They even gave a Tremors 7, if you've not seen it, watch it, because even at the end, it's a homage to Bert Gummer, the whole end of the movie, which was really nice to see. It was absolutely fantastic, showing clips from all the other movies, which they could do because it was the same studio actually did all 7 movies in its thing. But bringing that back, it's the same idea in here. You look at some of the characters, considering this is what on season, it's just starting season 3, right? So just not looking at season 3, you look at some of the one of the favorite characters from the first 2 seasons wasn't even in the first 2 seasons. She was only in 1.5 seasons.
Yeah.
It was Alara.
Yep.
She was one of the favorite characters just because she was young. She was inexperienced to an extent, but she had the growth because remember the first time she got the command and she had to run and ask the doctor for help. Please take me off. Say I'm psychotic or something to take me off. And no, just do your job. And it was that type of thing. You saw her nerves and growing out of it and actually succeeding. And it was good to see that growth, whereas you wouldn't expect it. Because
I love that
with
part because tag you're it actually means something.
Yeah.
It is, but it is with you. You have to take the decision. You have to find a solution.
Yeah.
Yes, there is no one else. The buck stops with you. And
yeah,
I know
but it was also the fact is they put her in a position, and because she was the chief of security and she was strong, people were automatically expecting when they were put her in, she would sit down and just take charge. And then it was almost a case of and you're sitting there thinking, there is a character that you probably in a TV show you don't expect, who's the chief of security, is suddenly unsure because she's in an unusual position because she wasn't expecting it, which I thought was a very good way of actually introducing that she's still quite young for her species. She's probably slightly more than a teenager, and then you obviously see her family. But it was almost the fact that they put someone. You imagine in Star Trek, the chief of security, Worf or O'Brien, I think it was or Tasha Yarrett was the first time. She would have got the command and she would have sat down, right? No problem, thank you, Captain. And she would have been comfortable with it. Worf would have been comfortable with it. You look at any commander in any of the Star Trek ones, they would have sat, they would have been good at it. Yet, what did they do? They put the chief of security in and she went, and very nervous. And I thought that was a really good way of showing that the
it's
character
a very, very brilliant thing. And I can, on a personal level, I can relate to it so much because I'm one of those that, I've done it. I've been put in that situation so many times now that now I'm comfortable with it. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The first time you get put in a position in charge of something and you're sitting there going, I've never been in charge. What do I do? And that's what I'm saying. That's why I liked that episode, because there you go, someone who's a chief of security in command of all these security thing, and then suddenly she's in command, and it's almost that and it was a nice thing to see the first time somebody's been put in command of a situation. It wasn't just sitting down and comfortable, no problem.
Exactly, and that's why when you work for larger organizations and enterprises and everything, you realize that your bigwig has at least 8 people below him filtering the information. It's like, oh, let's not overload you. You need to make a critical decision to move forward. But these 8 people may have 8 people each. So suddenly you're starting to have that whole Chinese 1 rice seed per 1 square, and then you double it in terms of trade on a chessboard. And you realize the exponential information is just like snowball. You need them to go low-key information. This is where we're concerned. You have 8 decisions. You don't have 68 decisions to make. We've reduced them to 8. It comes down to you. But those 64, behind them, they have 256 people saying, we want this decision. And then you suddenly, it snowballs as soon as you start moving up. And I think that is a well-shown case. She was just head of security.
Yeah.
She had maybe 4 people reporting into her, and maybe behind that 32 people. That was the entire security. But suddenly she's in charge of the entire ship, which means science division, astrometrics, or whatever it was called in Star Trek Voyager.
It was astrometrics.
Yeah, she has engineering, she has medical, she has. Suddenly, it just balloons into a complete.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Considering this was a bit at the beginning, it was a parody, and they could get away with some of the silly things like her running down the corridors down to the doctors. You couldn't imagine that in Star Trek. In any of the shows. You just could not imagine that. Whereas she just panics and freaks out and runs to the doctor because she's freaking out. And that's what I'm saying. It was just very well done that, yes, they could get away with it because it was a bit of a parody at the beginning. To the point, it was so well done for the Alara character to show her getting in her first command position. You're sitting there thinking, nicely done. It was unexpected. You were expecting her to sit down and suddenly do this, get this, thank you, Captain, we'll see you when you get back type thing. And it was almost a case of as soon as she sat down, you almost saw her sitting down going, and that's and it went from there. It basically took you on a different type of journey. I think if they had if it was a Star Trek show, they would have put, say for instance, Chekhov in the seat.
Yeah, but
you have it very. Or if they put Uhura in the seat, she would have actually been. You would have seen her. She would have been comfortable, and she would have okay with the fact that she was in charge of the bridge at that point. But in this one, they put someone in it wasn't comfortable, and I thought it was very well done for an introduction to how the character, because you've already been introduced to the character. She's extremely strong. She's quite young to be in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put her into the command chair, and then suddenly it shows how young she is and how inexperienced she is. And that's the way I think this show has actually got better, because it's shown you parts like that.
This is where I always like the Star Trek universe up until and including Enterprise. There is a command structure. And if we go to the latest, the more modern, Archer is trusting Trip.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. He's trusting him to be able to cover his butt if he has to leave the captain's chair. He knows Trip will do and will try to always include what will Archer want from a scenario. If I have to sit in the chair, what is my captain's desires? What does he want? What do he want to get of this scenario? Whereas anything after Enterprise,
I've not watched anything after Enterprise, I must admit. So
yeah, but everybody's a commander, and a commander, when it comes to Navy, a Navy being Space Fleet. If you're a commander, you're actually a captain of your ship visiting another ship. So you actually have the title of captain. It just happened to be that you're not on your ship, so therefore you're called a commander, not a captain. The captain, so take Picard and Riker, both of them are captains. Riker was never assigned a ship until the very end, if I remember the complete canon.
He was offered a couple of ships and he turned them down.
He turned them down, but he had the rank of captain. But because Picard was captain of the Enterprise, he was a commander. He had the same rank. He was just subordinate because Picard had command of the Enterprise.
Yeah, and it's the same with military command. If a military commander, a military captain is on a ship at sea, he gets called a major for the same reason. So they don't. It separates the captain. There's only one captain on board. So if you've got a naval, if you've got a naval warship and you've got soldiers on it, any of the captains are tacitly called majors until they're off the ship again. And it's for the simple fact is naval tradition, only one captain on a ship. So even the armed forces follow that look what do they call it? It's a tradition. Follow that tradition that there's no two captains on a ship. So it's that is something it's right across the board. They've been doing that for years, and yes, you would expect it to go into because they use the naval commands in the ships or the naval ratings in the ships. So you would expect that same idea. So you would only have one captain. So if a military, it'd be like Babylon 5. A captain from Babylon 5 came onto a Starfleet ship. He might have been a captain in the military, but as soon as he steps onto a ship, he becomes a major until he steps off the ship. Then he's back to being a captain. Tradition. And it works. But that's what I'm saying. It's this show, but the Orville actually takes it the same idea, but it actually gives you a bit of a different look at it, because any other show out there, they put somebody in command that's already been in command is quite happy. The only time they ever did that was with Councillor Troy, when she wanted to take the command and she had to go through the test, and the bit where she had to send Geordie into the Jeffries tubes knowing he was going to die. And that was the part she didn't like. But once she had actually sat the test and she was sitting her first watch at night, she sat down quite comfortable. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is her first command. And she just seems quite comfortable because she's went through the test. And that's what I'm saying is, whereas in this one, they put her in the first time and you could go, oh God. And you could actually, you could actually feel how she was feeling, and I thought it was very well done because they did it differently from all the other shows out there. They put somebody in command who, not a case of we're incompetent at it, they put somebody in the command who was just so new at it, she was nervous, and I thought it was very well done and very well handled because it showed she had the capability. It was just her nerves and her feelings about I'm not ready was the part. And that's what I liked about it. It's the same as they've done for each of the characters. They've put them in a position where it just seemed weird. Like, for instance, John, the flyboy, then he meets his friend, who's a bit of a terrorist. And it shows him coming from the part where he's just, he likes to have fun and do that, and he doesn't want people to actually dislike him, suddenly having to actually turn against one of his best friends because he was a terrorist, and you're sitting there thinking there's a nice arc for him because it's a different arc. You wouldn't expect it from a show like this to put him in that position. Then you've got the Doctor. You've got different things. Each of the characters has that moment where you see them growing into it. Like Ed, when he gets the command and he finds out Kelly got him the command, and he was resentful, and then he became okay with it. And it's things like that. It just goes to show each of their growing parts. The only two I didn't like was the alien, because it was typical. They did alien doing alien things. And I don't find that interesting, showing you alien worlds and how aliens work, because it's just some weird guy's idea of this is how aliens would do it, and I just find them boring. So Bortus, anything to do with the Mocklins, unless it's very generic, I don't really care enough. I'm quite happy to skip past all that. Same as if you were actually going and seeing when you were on Isaac's planet and you see all the androids turning around, and funnily enough, they've all got red eyes except Isaac. Yet throughout the whole thing, he's always got blue eyes, except the one time when he turns evil and then he comes back and he's blue eyes. And you're sitting there thinking, so why's he got blue eyes and the rest of them have got red? Why don't they all have the exact same if they're all the exact same? And it's things like that. And it's because somebody wanted to distinguish him from them. So, well, he has to have blue eyes. Why? Because all the rest of them have got red eyes. So is that the rest of them look evil and they didn't want him to look evil? It's things like that. So all the alien parts, Isaac and Bortus, no interest in all the silly parts of let's show you an alien world and how the aliens work. Don't care. But the interaction of all the crew, so Bortus, the interaction, the bit that you can eat anything, I thought was stupid. So he's eating metal. Really? Doesn't quite work because he's biting off bits, he's chewing bits of this and bits of that. But he's chewing things that you think about it. If you're chewing metal or thing, your stomach might be able to dissolve it, but you've seen them being hit or cut. So he's chewing things that should be able to cut him, because if he's been stabbed by his spouse, then if he's chewing something, why is it not cutting his lips? But you see what I mean? It's things like that. It's almost a case of, look, he can eat anything. Let him show him eating anything, glass, metal. Yeah, he can get stabbed and he can bleed, but he can chew things and he's stuck and it doesn't rip his sarcophagus and it's things like that. So sometimes it works, but anytime it goes with the aliens, because they just do not pay attention to how the aliens work. And that's the parts I don't like about the shows. But yeah, I'm okay with that. So it is geared towards an American audience. And I've noticed, with apologies to my American audience, if anyone out there, I used to watch Manhunter. That was the one about the guy who would hunt people, and if they succeeded in evading him, they would win a prize. But he had his horse and he had somebody who knew the local area, and he was this expert hunter, and he would try and track them down and catch them over 2 days or a weekend or whatever it was, 3 days. And they would do things to try and do it. The thing that annoyed me about that program is you would have the advert, then after the advert, they would actually just tell you everything that happened just before the advert, as if you guys have got no concentration. Something that happened less than 5 minutes ago, you have forgotten. We're going to actually spend 5 minutes telling you everything that's just happened. And you're sitting there thinking, really? It's almost a case of, do they think American audiences are that thick they can't remember something that happened before the advert? But they do that quite a lot. And I've seen other programs, it's actually doing a recap after the advert. I could understand if it was the next week. Things that happened last week, just to remind you. But not things that happened just before the advert 5 minutes ago, just to remind you. And it's things like that used to annoy me. But yes, the American producers think their audience are thick as mince, which I think is disingenuous, because you look at some of the best American shows, they're thought-provoking, and week to week you didn't need a recap because you were so enthralled that you remembered exactly what happened, and you didn't need somebody to walk you through, hold your hand and say, right, boys and girls, did you remember what happened last week? Well, this big bad man shot this big bad man and he's going to get caught. You don't need all that. Whereas now they think you're that thick that they're going to tell you what happened 5 minutes ago because you forgot it. Whereas this one doesn't. This show, even a two-parter, it'll give you a wee bit at what happened. It doesn't give you, remember everything last week. So almost it spends the first 10 minutes telling you everything that happened the last 45 minutes the week before. It doesn't do that. It's just basically goes in, a wee reminder, then goes into it. And I think it's quite good because it takes the audience on a journey. It doesn't say to the audience, I'll hold your hand and I'll talk you through it. Don't you worry, boys. And it annoys me, things like that. But I think the Orville season 2 just got better. So I did. And there is some still problems, but on the whole, I think the journey through season 2 just got stronger. They get rid of the silly zany and it became a more serious show. And yes, as a lot of people have been saying out there, it is the new Star Trek. It is that good that the pish out there that has got the title Star Trek, people are looking at and laughing, thinking, that ain't Star Trek. This is Star Trek, but that ain't Star Trek. Which just goes to show how good it is that it doesn't need to actually have any. The nearest it's got to it is it's a planetary, or it's a union between different planets. Everyone, so you've got Babylon 5, you've got the Earth Alliance, you've got the Centauri Republic, but this one you've got you had in Star Trek, you've got the Federation, and this one it's the, what's it called? It's the Federal something or something like that, the Federation of so and so and so, but it's similar. But in effect, it's the same idea as all the other ones. The planetary
union.
So they call it the planetary union, but in the Star Trek, it's the Federation. But it's the it's the same idea. It's the same principle. It's a collection of planets that have all joined together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's the fact is. Then they've got the military ranking, the naval military rankings. So that's the nearest they've got to being like Star Trek. But that's just generic thing. It'd be like they were doing one in a fictional Earth with a different navy. They would still have ships. They would still have military rankings and stuff like that. The ships might look different and whatever. So they've got similarities, but the biggest similarity is how it makes people feel, and it makes people feel that this is something it's taken the mantle of Star Trek, whereas the things that are calling themselves Star Trek are just in name only. They're nothing to do with Star Trek. And I think that's actually a good way of looking at it. It takes the mantle without having to take the name, because people see the similarities in it, even though the similarities are very generic. It has, you look at everything from Forbidden Planet, everything, it's always been militaristic, uniforms and whatever. But what I'm saying is people are saying, oh, it's just a rip-off of Star Trek. No, it's a homage to Star Trek, and they've taken a very broad brushstrokes to be similar, but that's the same as they could say they were similar to Babylon 5, they could be similar to Star Wars, whatever. It's because there's a union, they've all got outfits, or they've all got military outfits, and they're all naval rankings. And it's, apart from that, where's the similarity? They're in space. Babylon 5 is in space. Does they make it the same? They're the travel, they've got faster than light travel. There's a lot of them have got faster than light travel, big deal. But you look at things like they've had to make it different enough. Like, for instance, you don't have warp 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the quantum drive. And they don't even really mention the speed of the quantum drive. It's just about how powerful it actually they can make it go. So if they want to be there dead fast, they give it 110%. That type of thing. It's not a case of they say, right, warp 1, warp 2. So there's nothing similar. They just basically fire up the quantum drive, and away it goes. So there's no time frames mentioned about the different speeds. So they don't even mention speed. It's like a case of accelerate. It's like your car. You just say accelerate to as fast as you can. How fast can it go? You don't really know. It just tells you how quick you'll get there. So you imagine a car without a speedometer. It's just going fast and fast until it can't go any faster. You just know how long it'll take you to get somewhere. So it doesn't give you a speed like Star Trek. So things like that, there's differences enough. But I think it's actually done in such a way that people actually look at it and go, I watch Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, even Enterprise and Voyager. Then I'll watch that before I watch any of the other piss, because that is not Star Trek. Just because it's called Star Trek, it's nothing to do with it.
Well, I'm just going to say this about the Orville. Look at the amount of guest stars they've had in it so far.
Well, you look at Alara's story when she went back
Yeah.
there. You had the two doctors
Yeah,
from Enterprise and Voyager.
I know.
The two doctors, one good, one bad, but even the good one was not very nice, which was really good. I really liked that episode. And yes, you had Ted Danson. You had some fairly big names in it.
Yeah. Also, you've got Liam Neeson, Charlie Theron's in it.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I'm thinking, Liam Neeson doing a science fiction TV program?
Exactly.
Wow. Even you had Maria Stryce in it, right? But not playing the usual character she did in The Next Generation. And the directors have had Jon Favreau directed the first episode. Yes, Bruce Willis was in it.
Bruce Willis, was he in it?
Yeah, he was uncredited. I think he was a voice of a character.
See, I probably didn't even notice
Flower
that.
alien, yeah. But to take the directors, Jon Favreau, right? I wouldn't expect him to do it, but he went on to do, you know what? Robert Duncan McNeill directed the second episode of the first season.
But Robert Duncan McNeill, Tom Paris from Voyager, he gets around everywhere because he did what a lot of people did growing up with the Star Trek genre. You got cast in front of the camera,
yeah,
but they immediately dragged you behind the scenes. Do you want to write a script? Do you want to direct the camera? Do you want to do the cutting? Do you want to do the audio? Do you want to do the music? And I think that is a culture that is now lost completely on the Star Trek thing.
I know what you mean, but think of it this way: you've got Robert Duncan McNeill, Brannon Baggerat, who directed a few episodes of Star Trek. Right, it's like he's taken a whole lot from the previous Star Trek series.
Yeah, because he had Jonathan Frakes doing a couple as well.
And Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, do you know who my favourite side character was in this whole 2 seasons?
Who was it?
Patrick Warburton.
Oh, yes.
He was absolutely fantastic. Cool, man. Yeah, man. It was just so hilariously laid back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It basically... I just loved his character, just the big nose. Yeah, cool, man. Know what I mean? Yeah, it was almost a hippie. It was basically, it was a stoner, but it was just so well done. If you didn't know it was Patrick Warburton, you would it would be a case of, who? The Tick. He was just fantastic in it. He just played it so cool.
You'd never notice it if you had to know about his previous exploits, shall we say, to know that was him.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, he would have been just completely flying under your radar. You would never have clocked it.
Yeah, that's why I prefer the original, The Tick, rather than the new one. I didn't really like The Tick. I watched it; it was okay. Whereas the old one with Patrick Warburton as the Tick, that was just so much fun. Capt Manuel and stuff like that. It was just great. Arthur. It was far superior to this new one. And I think Patrick Warburton in that suit just looked far better than that guy they had in the new one. Whereas it just looked like AN normal guy in a suit. Whereas that other one, Patrick Warburton, just looked like the Tick. Because he just looked so big and powerful. and obviously being a big guy anyway,
Yeah.
it just sort of worked a lot better. But yeah, they've had some great characters in there. So they have, and it's been amazing, some of the characters they've had.
They even had Tim Russ in it as a character.
See, the computer. Who is Rachel MacFarlane? Is that any relation to
She's the sister.
Is it sister? Because I know she plays the computer, but I was never entirely sure if there was any relation between the two, because it's the same spelling, so that's why I wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah, it's something to do with Activate. She's voice of a character, Viruses in the Family Guy TV show.
Yeah,
but they've got great links. Like he's like including like members of his family in the production, which is good. This is the thing with Seth. He's got more of a closer relationship with the people he works with compared to what's going on with the Star Trek series at the moment.
See, these Star Trek series, to me, they're just Star Trek name only.
Yeah.
Basically, somebody's actually been digging up the graveyard and just animated the corpse. So that's why I just I don't even watch them. I don't even watch reviews of them because I don't care enough about them to even actually watch a review, good or bad. I just basically ignore them. If I hear about them, I just, I don't see them as Star Trek anymore. Because Star Trek has always had a particular thing. So having a show which is all about one character, no interest. Star Trek was always a ensemble cast. So you had Deep Space Nine. It wasn't just about Cisco. It was about the team. And
but not only the team. If you think of DS9, how many different story arcs of characters did you not get from that? It was literally like a firework explosion.
Exactly. So you would have the wee ones with Jake and Nog.
Yep.
Nog was a fantastic arc for his character. Same again. I think he was brought in initially just as a wee side character, but people liked his character, so it got more and more until the point where he joined Starfleet. And even the journey to join Starfleet, it was a struggle to get to that point, and it was really well done. It wasn't just a case of and you come. It was a case of no, you're not. I'm not putting you through, and then he had to justify why he wanted put through, and he goes, now I know it's not just a case of it's a bit of a con. Now I know why you want through. You've got, I'll sign the paperwork. But it wasn't just a case of, yes, on you come, you're a favourite character, no problem, we'll give you the fast track. It was a case of, nope, you ain't getting it. And then the speech that Nog gave, why he wanted into Starfleet and why he wanted out of his normal, what was expected of him, was fantastic. Could you imagine any Star Trek writer now writing a speech from Nog nowadays?
Are you kidding?
God, no. That would literally, they would no idea, because they get everything and people say how fantastic they are before they even start. So how would they understand that some people have to fight to get where they are? Whereas you look at Nog's speech, that was so well done that you could understand somebody'd actually put that together based on maybe things that happened in their life. They've just changed it, and they've just about how they struggle. Because you can imagine not everybody got into the writer's room just by applying, here's my job. You can imagine some people actually applied and got passed over for somebody's nephew's cousin's brother who I promised a job for them, so it doesn't matter if you're good, we're not getting you. And then they've had to work their way where somebody who's got no talent, but because they're related to the right person, got the job. You can just imagine they've having to work their way around, and then when they've had to write that speech, they've written the speech based on their own life experience. Whereas now people actually come out of college and say, hi, I'm a social justice warrior, and you can. you get any experience? It doesn't matter. I can open my mouth and let my mouth and my brain flick in gear. There's nothing there, but at least it'll keep coming out, so we can put nothing out there. Because you look at it, there's no they don't know how to write a hero, because to them their heroes are the villains. And we said that yesterday with what do you call her, Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, or whatever, is where she basically she uses her power to crush a guy's hand because he was not very nice to her and steal his motorbike. And yet you're meant to actually think this is a hero for stealing because you bullied somebody because you're more powerful. So you're saying the man who tried to bully you because he was more powerful, but you not only crushed his hand and bullied him, but being a superhero who he couldn't hurt under any circumstances, we're meant to feel good for you actually doing that to somebody, so you're a bigger bully. But there you go, that's what a hero is to these people. Whereas to me, Nog was a hero because he fought through all his crap to get where he needed to be. Nog did turn into one of the best characters. I really liked the Nog character. And I think there was the Alara character was aiming that way, and obviously she didn't continue, which was a shame because I think her character still been there. This new girl, the Talla, I need still known Talla Szohr, because obviously they were going on about how when Alara's people from Alara's planet joined the military, it's so rare that they fast track them. Yet he's had 2 in his ship, so they're not that uncommon. So I wish they'd actually put another alien in place. Yes, they might not have wanted to have the Patrick Warburton one with the dude and how's it going, man, and all that in the place for too long because the amount of makeup he had to put on for the scenes. And if they wanted a female in there, they could have actually did another one. But they're turning around early on and saying because of their strength and the people, they're so rare, people join the military, yet he's had 2 security officers, one after the other. And you're sitting there thinking, they're not that rare then. If there's over, did they say, was it 300 ships early on, and they're building more? And yet, out of all those 300 ships, he's had 2 of the, I can't even remember the species, but the strong ones. So they're not as rare as they were implying early on because he's had 2. And that's things like that annoy me because they wanted that type of character again. So either Alara wasn't as special as they implied, or she was and they just thought nobody will notice. Wee silly things like that get annoy me. I wish they'd actually made her a different species. They could have made her strong, but not as strong. But I don't know. It's just nuts. I wish they'd actually been paid attention to how rare they said people from her species are in the military. And yet he's had 2, one right after the other. Right after the other, there was the Warburton character in between, but he was only temporarily assigned. You see what I mean? So things like that annoy me about the show, and it's because the way they actually do it. It's just unfortunate. I can understand why they wanted to, because they obviously wanted to have that type of character. But I wish I knew why she left. I think, did she not leave because she had a movie deal or something?
I think so. There was an open letter or something, but I don't know what was truly revealed. I know they done a montage to her character, and you think, well, she wasn't in it for that long.
She was only in it for a while, but she obviously she was in it the episode where the path not travelled.
Yeah.
So that was the end of season 1 with the path not travelled, where the Kelly goes back and changes the history, and the Kalon win, as it were, and they're having to actually reset it and stuff like that. So yes, it's one of those things, and you're sitting there thinking, However, it was nice seeing her. But yes, she was not in for that long. What, 60? Was it? She was in how many episodes? 16 episodes, so a season and a half.
Yeah, she left about episode 3 of season 2.
Yeah, so a season and a bit. But that's what I'm saying. It's just a case of the fact is they said she was special because people from her race don't normally join the military. The thing, mate, and if they do, they get fast tracked. Yeah, there's him. Had 2, one after the other, so they're not as rare. Or did he get a special treatment for some reason? It's things like that. It just things like that annoy me about it. However, just because I can get annoyed about the way they act with the Geologia, the way they act with people running through Yaphit, or having the 2 of them when they said they were rare in the show, they might annoy me, but on the whole, they don't annoy me enough to actually dislike the show. I think the show is actually good, and I'm actually going to start watching season 3. Normally, I don't watch the episodes until it's completely finished because I don't trust it not to change halfway through. But this one seems to be okay.
Apparently, season 3 is supposed to be the final season, but we're not too sure at the moment.
I don't know, but it will be. You can guarantee they'll only do the 3rd season because you want to move on to something else. But then again, how many American Dad did they do?
Well, Family Guys and American Dads, too many at this rate.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's no like, for instance, he gets bored quickly. So is it a case of somebody actually turns around and goes,
It was something to do with Disney's acquiring Fox.
So he'll probably know how to work with them.
That's why, yeah, it's not just that, it's just Family Guy, American Dad, I think, got moved to a different network. But
yeah, Kelly, I would definitely give the Orville a go. It is fun. It's at the beginning, it's a bit farcical, it's a bit zany because they tried to make it a parody, but it sorts itself out, and it is actually fun. There's a couple of bits and pieces that I found annoying, but not enough to actually make me dislike the show.
But it does have its own identity now.
It does. It definitely does have its own identity, and the characters on the whole are good. There's bits and pieces annoying for all of the characters. You know what I mean? Every one of the characters has got an annoying side, but they're not annoying to the point they're unlikable. And the nearest one, I think, to an unlikable character is Clyden. But he's meant to have that because he's meant to be a bit xenophobic, which you found out later on. But it's just a case of because they come from an all-male society and stuff like that. But you're not. Clyden is just a bit character. He's been how many episodes has he been in? Clyden, he's been in 15, so he's not in every episode. He's just bits, pieces here and here. The same as the kid Topa has only been in about 7. So considering this is the 3rd season, which would make it 36 episodes, you can imagine he's not in every episode. And the bits and pieces he is in, you're not meant. They don't give things about him to the point where you're meant to like him or dislike him. They just give you things about him that you make up your mind. But there's occasionally they throw things at you that mean that he's not as nice as he's meant to be. However, they don't actually present it in such a way that, oh, by the way, you're meant to hate this guy. It's just things that has been said about
it's
it.
Part of the magic where I think the Orville really won, shall we say, how to tell a sci-fi story.
Mm-hmm.
They actually let you drop areas. It's like, is this a good or a bad character? That's completely up to you as the audience. Whereas if you look at anything Rian Johnson or Catherine Kennedy, whatever the crap the name are, it is, they don't give you that, shall we say, layer. Because if you look at the original Star Wars that came out 40 plus years ago now, it's what, 45 years?
1977.
Darth Vader is a scary, mean-ass, badass FFSI.
Yeah.
You're just giving you a plug there, Alex. But he's a scary, badass, deep, dark, evil. But there's subtlety.
He had a powerful presence in the first episode 4 when he arrived on the ship, and he learned.
Sorry, it's not episode 4. It is Star Wars.
Sorry. I'm still.
There's only 3 movies. There's no episode 4, 5, and 6. There's Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. End of story.
Okay. Well, no, it's just that powerful presence.
I'm sorry, PJ, and I will to my dying day go. No matter how much there was issues with the 1, 2, and the 3.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Did we not see how bad it would really go with 7, 8, 9?
I know.
And STD.
The thing is,
and everything. And the Doctor Who. I'll take Star Trek 1, 2, and 3 above, and I mean a million miles above, any Doctor Who that is coming out right now, any new Star Trek, any new Obi-Wan Kenobi, any new Lara Croft, any new Tomb Raider, or whatever TV show you want to throw at me. No, I will swear allegiance to Jar Jar Binks above.
See, the thing is, right, first of all, you said Star Trek 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, I'm okay with that. You meant Star Wars 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I meant Star Wars. Star Trek 1, 2, and 3 are amazing.
Prequels, I saw the first of the prequels and I didn't watch the last 2 because I thought it was pants, so I had no interest in it. And I haven't seen any of the sequels. I'll tell I saw, what was the first one? The one where they all died, so Princess Leia didn't actually do all the work to get the thing. Somebody just handed it to her and she took the credit. What was that movie? The one they all got killed on the planet.
What, The Force Awakens?
Was it The Force Awakens? The one that Rogue One.
Rogue One. Oh yes.
Right. So basically, they all died on the planet, and somebody handed her the thing, and she took the credit, saying we managed to get this, as if she did all the work, whereas they just basically just turns around and says, screw it, Star Wars, you didn't do anything, you just took the credit for it, but we all did it. And I thought that was a crap movie. I didn't like it. I just thought it was just crap. And I never watched anything after that, so I'm okay. I've not watched any of these Disney Star Wars.
Rogue One was supposed to be an homage to the Dirty Dozen. That's the thing.
Yeah, but to me, it was the fact is they effectively did in Rogue One. It is a prequel film. It basically means that when Princess Leia goes, puts it in and goes, help us, Obi-Wan, you're our last hope. She's effectively turned around and says, I stole this. Somebody handed it to me and I'm taking the credit. So here you go. So in effect, all the things she did has actually been crap. So she's done nothing. So why the hell should we actually? Why should we love Princess Leia? Because she's done nothing except take credit for somebody else's sacrifice. That's effectively what they're saying. So I never watched anything after the Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was crap, and I did not like it. So I just ignored the rest. And it's the same as the prequels. I watched the first one, did not like it, and I just ignored the rest.
But despite that, I will give you this. If you look at all of these sideshows that came out of Disney, that they refused to call Star Wars. So Rogue One, whatever the Han Solo film was, because they refused to say, hey, this doesn't connect with the story. It's just us telling you something different. But in Rogue One, you did have some standalone. So literally strip it away. You know you're in the universe, but strip it away, and just the standalone character. They were great. Also, the robot, the backup characters, the sacrifices, everything. But as original Star Wars geeks, we did not need to know that Leia was just the one that, hey, I got the disc, let's plug it in, and the computer will do it. It was a good story to bring it into how did she get the disc.
Yeah, but the problem
We
is,
didn't need
as soon as they did that movie, effectively, remember, you did not know how she got
I
it,
didn't
what she
finish
went
my
through to
point.
get it, but suddenly she became nothing. She just became somebody that got handed it and took the credit for getting it.
Yeah, well, did she really? But
Yeah.
that will be a 2-hour discussion on its own. But the thing is, and this is where Disney pretty much went from we're woke, and holy crap, how did this guy get through our filter? Because the guy that did the directing and everything for Rogue One was an absolute Star Trek 1970s version fanatic. He was not buying any Vogue message. He was not doing any of the current message or all of that. He baked in everything, which is why I personally believe that when you see Darth Vader coming in there, it's not that it looks awesome. It's because I knew the guy, because I'd met him in the past when he won the Sci-Fi London Film Challenge, which is a 72-hour challenge in sci-fi in London. You sign up, you gather your crew, camera, directors, cutting, audio, actors, everything. But you have 72 hours, and you literally put your hand into a hat and drag your topic out. You need these 5 elements. You have 72 hours to complete this. He won that challenge. He then went on to make King Kong, I believe.
No, Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Right.
Thanks for the correction.
Jim, can I just explain about Gareth Edwards? He did a film called Monsters, and it was what you call one of those films that let's just say he did everything himself, the special effects, the filming, and all this and that. And it was made on a shoestring budget. And then after that, he got Godzilla. He was going to do a
that's essentially what Sci-Fi London challenge is. You have no money, no nothing. You just have you and a bunch of friends that have skills and maybe have a camera or something. That's the challenge. You do not get accepted to the challenge of Sci-Fi London if you have multi-million or multi-billion-dollar access to Hollywood production stuff. You cannot enter if you're already a known figure. So I will say Rogue One, knowing the director, knowing what he wanted, knowing the fact that he told Disney to just go Disney themselves, it's just like that, just spot on.
Yeah.
Would I, if I'm going to be extremely brutal, consider Rogue One a Star Wars film? It has the potential, but it misses the mark by like 5%. It's like 95% to the target. But Rogue One, bar none, as Disney got it, Rogue One is the closest one that ever came close to become a Star Wars film.
See, with me is, at the end of it, did I care enough about any of the characters? No. When they all died, I didn't care. And that shows how I felt about the story. So there was not one character I thought, oh, I just thought, they died, big deal. And that to me shows that I did not like the movie. So that's why I did not watch any of the new stuff. Yeah, I mean, so I just did not watch it. Any of the, so I've no, apart from Rogue One, I've not seen any of the stuff. I've seen the reviews of them because a lot of people have been talking about them, but I'm quite happy I didn't see them. Same as the prequels. I watched the first one and I thought it was boring, so I never watched the other ones. I just stick to the three Star Wars movies. And I don't call them 4, 5, and 6. They're Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And I don't see them as being 9 movies. I see them as being 3 movies. And would they class the rest of them as parodies? Probably not even that funny. But
there is this one is so complicated. It was the desire of us kids from the 70s, because they were relabeling them, not originally, but they were relabeling them as episode 4, episode 5, episode 6. And there were rumors, and I remember this, 82 to 84, everybody was going, oh yeah, 7, 8, and 9 will come out really, really soon because George Lucas got this. And then that went on until like the late 80s. And in the late 80s, it was like, oh, no, he's not working on 8, 7, 9. He's working on 1, 2, and 3. And we're talking 20 years before he actually did release 1, 2, and 3. This was the chit-chat wherever you went to play Magic the Gathering or whatever it was always the chit-chat. Oh, maybe he'll do it, maybe he'll not. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. No, it's going to be 7, 8, 9. He was always on every geek's mind. And I don't care. It was Dungeons and Dragons. It was Warhammer, Magic the Gathering. Everybody was always chattering about it since at least 1989.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, but the problem is the same as any prequels. As soon as you saw things from everybody's a lot younger, yet surprise, surprise, everybody's in it. Everybody's met each other before. Everybody's had seen the droids before, but they all forget about them. And then it's a case of that's when I go, nope, I'm out. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And it's just for the simple fact is, nah, just Disney.
No. Sorry, PJ. That's the current theme throughout every single Star Wars, be it film, individual film, by the way, books, canon, fantasy, fan writing. They always, within 20 years, they just forget completely that this is Han Solo is the guy that is at fault. Yes, he shot first because he was correct to shoot first, but Han Solo is the idiot that created the 20-year, what's it called, insanity loop. You forget what happened like 5 days ago. Oh, there's no Jedis, there's no nothing like that. I've never heard about the Force. And it's like, Han Solo is like 40 years old when he meets Obi-Wan for the first time. It's like, I've never heard about anything like mystical like the Force or anything. Hey, you were 20 years old if we're following 1, 2, and 3 happen. So it takes 20 years in the Star Wars universe to completely forget something crucial to that universe.
Yeah, because in effect, the Jedi were there and suddenly they weren't, and they became mythical as if people had never seen them before. Not 100 years, so there's basically nobody living has ever seen it. It's basically, that's like turning around and saying, well, I don't believe in records because, you know what I mean, there's always been DVDs. Really?
By the time Anakin is slaughtering a kindergarten, Han Solo would have to have been 20 plus years old. And he's never heard of Jedi Council or the Jedi Order or anything. And that is the original.
Yeah. But
4,
the problem
5, and
is,
6.
in the prequels, they basically, there was R2-D2 and C-3PO. Yeah, everybody forgot about them because, the droids got their memory wiped. So everybody forgot about them. Really? So the robot that you built, you forgot about. Yeah, all the other robots out there are the same design you didn't think about because it was the same one as you built. You know what I mean? It's it's the ludicrous thing. It's when they bring in, when they do a prequel, for some reason, you always introduce characters that only met in the original movie, yet in the prequel, they've already met and forgot each other. And that's why when I watch a prequel, I know fine well it's going to be crap before I start, and it's either going to surprise me or it's going to just basically reinforce what I think. And unfortunately, with the prequels, it just reinforced it, and that's why I stopped. I didn't watch anything other than the first one, because there's all the characters all met each other now, and that surprise, and that's why I just went, I'm out, and that's why I watched Rogue One, hoping that there was going to, and then I realised, no, in effect, all it did was it took Princess Leia and her arc prior to it, because you didn't know how she got there, and suddenly she just went from being the hero that's got the plans to somebody who just got handed the plans and took the credit.
Well, don't we love it? We have a TV show out at this very moment called Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it is all about Leia.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, it's like, what the hell? You have Luke Skywalker, you have Obi-Wan, you have the planet they grew up on, you have the Sand People, you have the what's it called, the water farmers, you have the most disgusting place of scum and villainy in the entire the universe.
Yep.
All of this to play on. No. Let's focus.
Yeah. Why don't we actually just
growing up in royalty?
Yeah, who's got all the troops behind him, and he can't protect one wee girl with all the troops in his army. Yeah. But he actually brings in a guy who's protecting somebody else. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's the problem with Disney Star Wars. It's not about the show, because you knew fine well Obi-Wan's going to be a useless old man anyway. What was the point in watching a program about a useless old guy doing nothing and actually getting into trouble that other people have to get him out of? And I've never watched it, but I'm assuming that's exactly what it's been all about over the last how many episodes there's been. But the thing is, same again, I don't even care enough to actually listen to anybody talking about it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry here. I'm hoping that I'm raised well by my parents and everything. But in what universe would someone be a useless, careless individual that have
Sorry. I should clarify it. It's called the Disney universe.
The Disney universe. But this individual has spent 2 decades literally abandoning everything they've done before. All the training, all their experience, everything they used to do for work, to live as a hermit in a desert planet, to cover for a child while they were growing up, making sure they're safe and everything. How are they suddenly completely useless? How?
That's the problem. Disney actually decided that this is better. We should actually appreciate them more now because they're all useless. Because remember, you can't have these toxic males that are out there. Like 70 odd years ago, when your grandfathers actually attacked a beach when people were machine gunning them down. But after all, they were white men. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever attacked them. So, and you're sitting there thinking,
yeah, bullets doesn't hit white men.
But that's what I'm saying. You get nutcases who are actually saying, as a white man, you'll never not understand what it's like to be attacked. And you're saying, right, okay, so somebody's shouted at you, but somebody's machine gunned them, but they don't understand it. Really? And no, it's the problem is when these companies, which truthfully, as soon as these companies actually say, you should watch this because I just go click. It's the same as if you've seen the trailer for Prey, the prequel to The Predator, and it's Indians, and basically it's the girl who tells all the menfolk how to actually destroy the alien who's attacking them and and killing them all, and she's the one person who will actually be able to kill it. And you're sitting there thinking, watching the trailer, you know how bad it's going to be. So I'm not even going to watch the trailer because I watched the first 2 seconds and I thought, nope, off, because she's going to be the be all and end all. She's going to be the one that actually solves it all. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't even want to watch these trailers because I saw a clip of it. I just saw a 2-second clip and I knew exactly who the hero's going to be. No point.
I know this is getting quite far away from
the Orville, I know.
But I did see it was a recent release on, I believe, Amazon Prime. Yes, there is a significant amount of, oh, hey, I'm a woman, I'm tougher than you, blah, 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 and all that. Oh, you're just a man, you're such a loser. But it actually has a really good baked-in plot to it. She's not antagonizing the man with just being a social justice warrior. It's just, when you get through the thick of it, she's actually using that to antagonize him. And I'm still trying to find what it was, because it was a really interesting show. It's a film about 2 hours long. She's the last standing captain of an ICBM interceptor platform. And the terrorists have been planning this for like 10 years to take out the 2 platforms so Russia can launch nukes at the US and not get them intercepted. It's really, really well made, hostage, like power balance. They're locked in a room, they can't get out, the other guys can't get in. But they do play a lot on the recent social justice stuff. And I was actually impressed by how well they balanced it. They didn't go into like, oh, this is the current Twitter spatter. They were playing it well for the long time, and it was like, oh, this has been going on for a couple of years. Are you sure you're a man? Because well, you look a little bit beer bellied. Stuff like that. It was subtle jabs, not direct attacks. It's like, oh, you're a cis man, go away. It was you had issues or you had something to play against. But I will try and find the link and drop it in the private chat so you can see if you like it.
Because there's social justice stuff in it, I don't care enough about it to even watch it.
Even no, I'd highly recommend this one.
But the problem is, as soon as they start going down that route, I don't care how good it is. I'll lose interest in it because I've no interest even in listening to the way they talk about it. And that's the problem. They've already made it. I'm scunnered enough that if something's got that in it, even if it's really well done, I don't care.
Boss Level and Free Guy had it.
No.
And they were amazing.
No, see,
I will say this one is worth a watch.
The only thing I've seen I watched and I didn't even actually like it was the Orville episode, the one about when they were on the planet where everybody had upticks and stuff like that. That one, I found it boring and literally I not so much I skipped it, but I was doing stuff instead of sitting watching it because to me it was boring because it was all showing you.
Do you know what it criticized? Really?
Yeah, I knew what it criticised, but because it actually used it.
No. What was it criticising?
It was criticising the social media about
no.
Twitter and all that. It was all the social media. It wasn't just Twitter or YouTube or it was Instagram. It was criticising social media and how people interact and believe everything they see in social media.
No. He went deeper than that.
I didn't watch enough because as soon as it started going down that route, I just ignored what it says because I've got no interest in social anything to do with social justice. I just basically find them boring. I just
don't worry, PJ. You are literally with like 99% of the people that I talk to about it. But what that episode was criticizing wasn't social media. It wasn't Facebook. It wasn't Instagram. What it was criticizing against was the Chinese social credit system.
Yeah,
so
I know that.
No.
I know that argument as well, and I do not see it because yes, the social credit system is they're talking about the way the interaction with social media is going down that route, but no, it was criticising the fact that people can be manipulated based on the fact is social media is out there and everybody uses it, and the
that's the light level of it. What it actually did criticize is the deep level that the actual credit system in China does work too. And I'm being careful because we're on YouTube. But essentially what it means, we might actually get nuked. But the credit system over there, it is, I'm your next door neighbor, PJ. And I heard you saying that Stargate is better than Star Wars. And I'm getting really, really frustrated with you because clearly Star Wars is better than Stargate, even though both of them are equally, they can literally stand head to head on top of the shoulders of giants. But clearly Star Wars is what kicked this off. Therefore, it should have the original credit as the king. Just as Tolkien earns the credit as the king of Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy shows and all of that, orcs and Dungeons and Dragons and whatever going forward. But because I dislike you, I can report you to the government, and suddenly you can't get approved for the bank loan or a new mortgage or buying that new home. Because me, as your neighbor, I told the government, nah, this PJ character is a bit dodgy. Yeah, sure, he might have £4 million on his bank account, but he's dodgy. He shouldn't be allowed to have the mortgage to buy his next home. That is the Chinese social credit system. You have the money, you should in theory be able to buy it, but because I, your neighbor, don't like you, because you said something I didn't like, you can't get what you want. That is the Chinese social credit system.
Yeah, nobody's arguing about that, but what we're saying is, I do not see that in the Orville. I saw it was a criticism of social media and people's relying on it. No, I've heard the argument about the social thing, mate, and no, I cannot see it any time I've seen that episode. I just see the episode as boring because they're talking social justice and they're talking about how bad things are. And
that's what saying it was deeper than
program is. See if as soon as it starts going on about stuff like that, I don't care enough to even watch it, even if it is good. I just, if it's on, if it's something I'm watching and I see what it's about, I'll go and do something else while it's on until it finishes. So I'll not even watch it enough to actually take all of it in, because as soon as it starts,
that's what I was saying. It was deeper than that. I do see and agree. The Instagram, the Facebook post, like, downvotes, whatever it is, dislike button. It is one of the systems, but the Chinese, which it was criticizing, which is the one First Nation that have actually implemented this, it is, you disagree with this course of action, it might actually have physical, real-world impact, which is what we see with, what is it? Is he the pilot or is he the engineer? And he gets, it's like, if you don't pass this, you will get executed. If I get down ratioed on Facebook today, because I hang out with you guys, I'll defend you guys to the end of my days. But if I get downvoted by 16 million votes, in that universe, that means you get put through the guillotine. Just for standing up for your friends. That is what the episode was about. I didn't like it because I do hate current day SJW, woke, whatever nonsense culture it's called.
That's what I'm saying. I basically disliked that episode for the same reason. Because as soon as they start bringing in any of that, it switches me off. So, but that's why I'm saying, like, things like Boss Level and Free Guy, didn't see it. It basically was just a story, and I didn't see any of that in any of it. You could go back and watch Numbers. I'm watching Numbers at the moment, and you see the females who, if it was now, they would be the smart ones. And they are just as smart, if not smarter than the guys in certain things, whereas the guys are smart in other things. It's just basically that. However, if you go back and look at it with today's eyes, you see, that looks like they're pushing her forward because she's female. No, what they're doing is showing that even though this guy was a protege or basically a genius, even when he qualified at the same time as his older brother, so he was going through school at the same level as his older brother, who's about 4 or 5 years older than him, and he qualified and he got his degree when he was 19. compared to other people who are like 23, 24 getting it. And he was brainy and smart when he was really young because, and then these other people who are brainy and smart that might not have had when they were young as him. However, they are just as smart as him now. And they bring in a couple of female characters in, and they're just as smart. And it's just because it's nothing to do with the fact is it's to show because the females are just as smart. It's just a case of, yes, he might have been smart and he is really intelligent, but these other people are just as intelligent, even though they have gone through the long way to do it. So they might be 23, 24, 25 doing it, or they're just coming up because he's now 30 and these are younger people coming through. So they're 24, 25 and they're at the level he would have been at 19. But because he's a professor and he's teaching them, they're just as smart at where he is now. Just it took him a few years longer to get there. And it didn't show them because they're female, they're just as smart. They just showed characters that are just as smart. It just happened to be female. Whereas if you look at it from modern eyes, it could look that they've just put these forward because they're female. And that's the thing. If you look at it from that aspect, you can find what you require in it. Whereas if the show actually, you don't notice it, that's fine. If it's in your face, then I just go, nope. And that's the problem. If they start, it's like somebody starts a conversation as an XYZ, then the first thing I do is go, click, ignore whatever else they say. Because if they have to qualify what they are before they speak, then I'm no interest. And I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. If they justify it by saying their race, their gender, their sexuality, whatever, then the rest of the argument has to be as useless to me because I don't care.
No, this is where I absolutely agree with you. And I really do not like this whole, what's it, pronoun, Keir Starmer, the opposition here in the UK against the Muppet Johnson. It is, I do not need to know up front at work who you prefer to rub your genitalia against. And this is the whole thing about the he, him, she, they, them, their, seer, blah, blah, blah. That is a pronunciation saying, I prefer to rub my gender against this. I don't need to know that unless we start flirting. And it might be a possibility of, hey, you're cute. Hey, yeah, you're cute. And then the other person goes, sorry, I'm gay. That's the only time that information needs to be transferred or shown to someone. You don't need to put it into your business letter header when you write out the proclamation and saying, I identify as they, them, X here, blah, blah. It's like, why are you sending out a business declaration to a company of 100,000 people saying, I'd like to rub my genitalia against the salt block? And just go and say, that's too much information for me, please. It's like, you go away, you do whatever you want to do on your private time, but in a business communication, I don't want to know whom you would like to spend your bedtime activity with.
But that's the problem. Basically, there's a very small percentage that actually try to dictate to everybody else. That's why I see as soon as I see things like that, I just delete. It doesn't matter if somebody's sending me a communication that I must read. If it ever come in saying from me who is a I would just go delete without reading anymore. Don't care enough about anything business or what otherwise, because to me it's not a business thing. So as soon as it starts coming in like that, which it never has, but if it did, the first thing I would do is delete it, because as far as I'm concerned, if somebody starts a conversation by identifying themselves, no interest. The rest of anything else I've got to say means nothing. I can understand if the turns around and says, I do not like this, and you'll say, but surely that thing, and they say, no, as this type of person who is in that environment, I see this is wrong. That's, I can understand, because you're asked them to qualify and they're telling you the qualifications. But if they start off by telling you the qualifications as if it gives them any other insight, then doesn't matter what they say afterwards. They've already tried to qualify it, and that's the problem. To me, it's a case of, if somebody says, I do not like this because this is rubbish and that's bad and this is good and this is bad, and then you say, but wait a minute, as an ex-person, that is good for me. Then the fact that you're having to qualify why you think it's good without giving a reason, the argument's invalid, it's gone. So I don't.
Exactly. It is like trying to prove a point by bringing in stuff that isn't relevant. Whether you're straight, bi, trans, whatever, we need to take a decision. Shall we use this software or not? This software is developed by, say, a dodgy country that wants to spy on the planet, and you have to use it as a, shall we say, financial software. And we know they have complete control of it. What does your sexual orientation have to do with financial transactions? I don't see that anywhere.
It's the same as somebody was saying that they had to fill in a form for something, and when they got to the form, there was about a 15-line thing about sexuality, and they're saying the thing is they could not skip it because it was an online form, so they had to fill it in. But none of that had any relation to what they were actually requesting. So their sexuality and their sex had nothing to do with it. So why it was in the form? And what they did was they went, close, and didn't they apply for whatever that was they were trying to get. And to me, that shows the company loses money. But if people actually are forced to do it and they still do it, then I would just turn around and go, nope, don't care enough.
Exactly. And I'm thinking companies are missing out. Yes, there may be someone that isn't your normal average. They may have any of these LGBTQ plus MNOP, blah, 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 whatever it is. How does actually
we'll get back to the motleys later.
But how does that solve the question in front of them?
Yeah,
it may give a different
it's one of those things. But what I'm saying is that, going back to the Orville, is these things shouldn't make any difference, and as soon as they bring them up, even in a program I enjoy, it's unimportant. The episode loses me. So it might be still on, but I'll be doing something that I'm not really paying attention to it. Whereas other ones I'll sit and watch. But when an episode comes on and it actually hits things, that even though it's having a go at it, as soon as it starts using it, it switches me off, and I don't care enough. So I stop watching it. So that episode with that up and down arrow thing, and it was on.
Don't even care.
It was on, and I didn't care enough to actually find out what the story was about.
But I do have the 3 levels, and since I met you, PD, I've realized that I do have shows that I do what you do. You put something on in the background, you just listen and maybe occasionally watch it, and it's like, oh, this was actually interesting. I will take the 2 hours required to watch it. I will sit down, really watch it. I do have the same system. Something on in the background, something I really actually sit down and watch. I'll bring my cup of tea, my biscuits, everything. I sit down to genuinely watch it. And then there is this it's just white noise, as it's called. It's just something in the background while I'm doing the laundry, the dishes, mopping the floor. It's literally those 3 levels. And I've really noticed that the top tier, where I want to sit down, put my feet up, have a cup of tea, and a couple of biscuits, they are getting fewer and fewer. I can literally not recall the last time I put up my feet and just went, this really sounds interesting. And that's despite boss level and free guy.
Yeah.
They were amazing, but they were not, I'm pulling my curtains, locking down the room, putting it up on the big screen, enjoying cinema style, going out to the shop, getting myself like butter popcorns and whatnot. Nope. They were good enough for me to sit down and watch them, but I actually went up and I was like, oh, I need to clear the dishwasher and like hang up the laundry. Can't say this, despite how much I love boss level, that I've actually watched it from minute 0 until the end consecutively. And it's despite that it's actually a good film, but it didn't grab me as well as, shall we say, Empire Strikes Back. I was glued to the screen when Empire Strikes Back came out back in the day. And I think I've scared everybody off.
Oh, sorry. Follow up. The thing is with Empire Strikes Back, the way I see it, Jim, is that it was from an era where films were films, and they were stories were written genuinely, unlike it is today. This is the problem. Story writing's really gone downhill. And as you said earlier, it's lazy writing.
Yeah, and I agree. But there's also the danger that we've exploded. Well, I wouldn't want to call it a universe or something like that, but I have it's like a cold spine chilling feeling that over the last maybe 15 or 20 years, it's been more about the publisher wanting to grab the big bucks rather than taking a chance.
Yes, yeah, I can see that. It's chased the franchise and it is compared to investing in an idea.
Exactly. Whereas before that, you did have the guys taking a big gamble and suddenly, whoa!
Yeah, that's when studios were studios. Because don't forget, back in, I think, is it the late 70s or was it the studios started to sell off to major big brand companies and all this and that. That's where it all went downhill. Hollywood wasn't Hollywood anymore.
No, Hollywood has never been Hollywood for a long time.
Yeah. And the thing is, you had stars where they were signed to studios back then.
Yeah.
Now it's just as Jim said, it's chase the big bucks.
Yeah,
let's franchise.
They don't want a move. They don't want something. They just want content just to fill the gap. They don't care if it's good or not. And that's the thing, is we used to have 4 channels or 5 channels, and it was basically a case of you knew every week you could come back to that channel and watch that program for once a week for a year, or once a week for 6 months, whatever.
Not only that, you had 4 channels. Yeah. You had to actually compete for the space on one of these sport channels.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
Now-
if you go to the United States, if you check into a hotel, you have like 250 channels of news and media and TV shows and talk shows and local channels. You have too much. They don't have to compete. They just have to chuck something in the air and see whoever catches it.
Yeah, I just want to go slightly off topic here. Now, you're familiar with the TV show Neighbours?
What?
No, I'm just going to say.
What, Alec? Us going off topic? We never do that.
Well, take care, Wendy. Neighbours. It's coming to an end because they can't find anyone to finance it. And that was such a popular TV show for its time.
Yeah.
And now it's coming to an end.
Yep.
Because they can't find this is what I'm talking about, is that you've got these companies that they're going to keep. How long are they going to keep up with Star Wars until they get bored with it and they chase something else entirely?
They're basically already bored with it because they're basically saying, right, this is Star Wars, but it's not. It's just Star Wars by name only. Nothing else is related.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's the same as this is Star Trek, but it's not. This is Doctor Who, but it's not. This is X, but it's not. All it is a case of we want to take that brand name and completely change it. This is the Wheel of Time, but it's not.
The thing is, how long are you going to keep milking the cow until it's dead?
Yeah. The problem is, I've seen did you see the one? It was the stick figure of the cow with Mickey come with all the buckets. Hello. and it was basically the cow's being milked so dry it's just bones. And Mickey's still coming for more. And I thought that was funny because, yes, that's exactly what it's like. However, I'm wanting to actually be finishing shortly. How long have we been going on?
2 hours.
2 hours, 16 minutes. We'll try and do the 2.5 hours because I've got work in the morning. Oh no, what did you think of, let's get back to the topic, the Orville, season 1 and 2. What did you think of it?
I'll probably jump in quickly here so I can grab the dinner. But Seth MacFarlane is not someone I would consider in like the more credible echelons of, shall we say, Gene Roddenberry, that kind of universe. But he did surprise me. Initially, he did follow what the studio said. Oh, we want the fart jokes. We want the college humors. We want to make a 6-year-old kid laugh. That's how it started. But quickly, he managed to shed that. Somehow, I don't know how, but season 1, literally from episode 1 to 3, it went from the fart jokes, the poop humor, the toilet garbage, junk, whatever, actually started bringing it up really quickly. And he managed to bring in some very Star Trekian. I wouldn't say that it went completely Roddenberry, but it was Star Trekian, as in, this is a complex situation. How do we solve this with a, what's it called? It is the one with the cogenitor. She carries the child for the mom and dad, but she's has no part of the family. She's basically trash, but they will love the child. Those kind of complex scenarios. And it started bringing up that really quickly. And that's why I really like, okay, Orville is really standing out because we now had Simon Pegg going back to his, I don't know what the hell he did in the 70s, but he must have definitely enhanced his experience somehow, because suddenly in 2017 or whatever it was, he's playing hard rock and roll in space to attract what? Nanobots?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what they were, but he was playing hard rock, and the Enterprise had to swoop around like a carnival ride. I'm going, that you had sci-fi at one stage, and now you just have snake oil.
Yeah.
And what Orville has done is gone, yes, we were born in snake oil, but hey, look, we can actually do something. And for me, Seth MacFarlane, despite how much I don't like any content I've seen before, his Orville is probably the one thing for me that is saving the Star Trek and the expanded sci-fi universe, included Stargate, Star Wars, any other sci-fi genre you can think of, even, and I will say this, and I know there are a lot of people going to shoot me for this, but I will even say MacFarlane, if he continues doing what he's doing, he might actually bring enough powerful influence to save the Doctor Who universe.
That's a gamble.
Yeah. What about you, Alec? What did you think of the Orville?
I found it quite interesting. It felt like it was going back to like the ways of like the next generation of story concepts and all this and that. Later on in the seasons, at first it was a bit of a yes, all right, it's a take a piss comedy, generic type thing. But now it's got its own identity. But what's going to happen after season 3? Is it going to keep going, or that's it? It's going to be an end. But in the meantime, I'm just taking it like episode by episode at the moment, see where the story goes.
Well, I'm a bit down the middle. When I started watching it, it was a bit of a parody, no doubt. It was very zany comedy. It was almost like Family Guy in space because it was the similar type of jokes. It was just a wee bit silly, the beer and the drinks under the console and the jokes about the eggs and the silly things when he was actually talking to all the senior officers. It was just silly, zany jokes in a sci-fi thing. It wasn't funny like Red Dwarf was funny. It was just silly humor throughout. Then it basically got into the stride where they had the stories with some of the zany humor, but the humor became less important and the stories became more important. There was some car crashes, as far as I was concerned, episodes, but that's the same across the board. No matter how good a program is, you're going to have some episodes that people don't like. I'm okay with that because it's as a whole, you judge it, because there's things about the program I don't like and there's things I do like, but the things that I don't like don't distract from it. Like, for instance, you've got the Kaylon, when they're flying, they turn around and shoot, and they suddenly how they can go bang, 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 shoot 7 things, no problem. But the next time there's 2 of them and there's one ship, and the 2 of them can't shoot one ship, even though it's just going shoot, shoot, and these things can't hit them yet the last time they could hit them. And it's things like that. It's almost like a case of those Kaylon have been actually training under the Empire because they can't shoot to save themselves yet. We just saw an episode before, whereas one of them could take out 5 of those ships dead easy. And it's things like that. It annoys me, but it doesn't annoy me to the point where I don't watch the program. And I think as it goes forward, I'm going to... The first episode of season 3 was just a starter again. It's almost a case of just letting you into it again. So it's introducing the new characters. I didn't like the girl in episode 1, but she may get better as she goes forward. but we'll see. I thought it was an okay episode. I didn't think it was the greatest, but for a starter episode that introduced the ship again, it introduced the situation they're in, and it introduced the new characters. So as an introductory one, it was okay. So I'm okay with it, and I'm looking forward to watching it this season and see how it goes from there. So that's mine. So what we're going to do, guys, we'll finish up shortly. Is if you've got any things coming up, Alec?
Right. Okay. FFSI is going to be doing a discussion about an episode of Thunderbirds called Terror in New York City on the 28th of this month. And I'd like to invite everybody in the chat to come along and watch and also give your opinions on that episode. It is not in a review, it's just a discussion about how it would deal in a real life situation. That's all it is. And also we're paying homage to Gerry Anderson himself for creating that episode.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
You all know me. I'll be in the halls of Valhalla, enjoying the mead, the grilled meat, and just enjoying the feast. I'll be in your chat, whether it's lurking or making some cheeky comments. I'll be around.
Yeah, excellent. So for us, we've got Let's Talk Geeky on Saturday, 8 o'clock, and I look forward. And something appeared today. My wife was out shopping, and she was in Home Bargains in the UK. Is just one of these. It's like, what would you class it as? The US. It's almost like, what's one of the big stores? Walmart. It's like Walmart, right? And she came across merchandise, and it's a pair of pajamas. And look at that. The pajamas. I'm not old, I'm classic, and she picked them up for me because.
Are you telling me that was not the commissioned order?
That's not a commissioned order. She picked it up, and look at that.
What a find!
What a find! So she picked them up for me. So there you go. I can get merchandise. You can buy it in Home Bargains in the UK.
I will have to puncture your wheel here a little bit. I'm disappointed it's not coming in a toddler size, because that would have been perfect for your grandson.
Yeah, it would have been, but basically she only found this one, so it fits me, so that's the main thing. So she picked it up for me. So I was quite happy. So I've got merchandise in Home Bargains. Yay!
But I'd say it's perfect.
Definitely. I just was so pleased when she got it. I thought, I need to show that tonight. Merchandise. Hey. All these big channels have got merchandise. Mine's has actually even done one better. You can buy it in shops.
Yeah.
And not just shops, supermarket shops.
Exactly. But thank you very much, one and all, for joining us for tonight's wee discussion. The Orville, I think, will get better after the first episode. The first episode is okay. It's not as if it's a bad episode. It introduces new characters. It gives you a brief rundown of what happened last season, because the first 5 minutes is a dream sequence, but you can understand it once you watch it. So it's really good. And I'm thinking of actually doing a discussion about this, but the problem is, and a Friday I'm on with the father, and a Sunday I've already got something planned with Jed and his crew, so I can't actually organise it for a Sunday, and the rest of the week is a difficult one. So what we'll need to do is try and discuss it at least once a week in Let's Talk Geeky.
Yeah, because we always go, squirrel.
Exactly. So maybe we can do a distraction and just talk a wee bit about each episode of The Orville on the Saturday after we've watched it. How does that sound?
There'll definitely be room about in the Let's Talk Geeky. Yeah. And I would highly recommend that you guys join us on the Saturday, because we just go down the rabbit hole, whatever the topic is, whatever the current news is.
Down there. I've got a pile of this down there ready to go. No new toys, but pile of discs. I've not been to the charity shop. This is from last week. So I've got one pile there, and the other piles I've just put back in my shelf. So I'm increasing. I've got some good picks for this week, and I've not been to the charity shop yet. Anyway, guys, we'll finish off there. And thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. And remember, guys, we're not old. We're classic. PJ maybe, and the guys out.